Ellie, you might want to mute.
You want to mute?
Yeah, mute for right now. It's just a lot of noise as you're swirling around. Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Must be my squeaky chair.
I'm talking 100 miles an hour and I'm muted. So we don't really start till 11:15 and we'll start the luncheon at 11:30.
Yeah, the room will open at 11:15 for people who just want to network a little bit, but the meeting itself will start sharply at 11:30. So
Okay,
Susie will be on here by 11:30.
Thank you very much. From Susie's email about wanting to talk about the big white elephant in the room, I have added that to the end, and I'm just saying we can't have a conversation about success without talking about the big elephant in the room. Hashtag can't breathe. People are saying that this time it's different. Do you think so? And why or why not? And then let her talk about it. And then I thought I'd bring up how 9/11, everybody was so, ready to help each other and pitch in and do whatever, but that faded. How do we keep this moving forward? Anything you would add to that?
No, I think that's great. I think they're both done in a really, what's the word, tasteful manner. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, good. Linda, anything you would add?
I don't know if her audio is connected. It says it's connecting.
Okay, good.
Let's see if she's, I don't have the option to unmute her.
Hi, Margie. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Margie.
Okay, I'm gonna unmute and go back for a little bit, and I'll be back on 11:15. Thank you, Ellie, for everything you've done. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you. You got the run of show, right?
I do. I've got it right in front of me. So thank you so much.
Okay. Talk to you a bit.
Bye. Okay.
Well, there's my favorite AAA guy.
Daniel, it's Tony. What embarrassing thing can I say when I introduce you?
Wait a minute, you're muted. Let me unmute you. Or you have to unmute. It won't let me unmute you.
I think I'm unmuted. Daniel, can you hear me?
He's got it, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to introduce you. Hi. Oh, look at that AAA in the background. I love it.
I'm back in the office.
Wow. Yay.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
So
hey,
I like your background. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Kevin did that for me because I paid to go for an event. So I use it on all my Zooms. So, and I sponsored something. So he too will do that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, just send him your logo, and he does it like that. He's such a sweetheart. So I'm going to introduce you to introduce Susie. And thank you again for this connection. I'm so excited about this interview,
Yeah.
and especially with everything that's going on right now. But so I was just saying, what can I say to just, I got to embarrass you a little bit when I introduce you.
Very sweet. I don't know. I've known Susie for about 13 years. And I met her through some folks that, I guess, mutual friends in broadcasting. And I was at CBS, and I want to say she was at NBC5 back then, because she's been at both. I think she was at NBC, but yeah. So I was in broadcasting, so that's how we met. And then, yeah, we've stayed in touch over the years. So
That's cool.
yeah.
Well, I didn't know you were in broadcasting. We have to get that on our board meeting somehow. So
Oh.
get you doing more communications and things. So
I was a news anchor, believe it or not. Yeah.
no, I believe it. You got the pretty face to go with it. You don't need to hide behind radio. So nor does Susie.
I know. Yeah, she's great. I forgot one thing. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay, talk to you in a little bit.
Okay. Hey, Ellie.
Hey.
Is it still causing some feedback?
No,
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it's because I left my earpiece right next to the mic device. We have these for media interviews, and so I thought, well, this will work for this too. So everybody doesn't have to hear it back there. So.
Look at all these smart men. Well, there's two, but anyway.
I love seeing our smart men on here as well. Thank you guys. And of course, always our women. Who's excited about today's interview? Yeah, thanks. Me too. Guys, so we've got about 15 minutes here of networking time. If you want to introduce yourself and a little 30-second pitch about your business and what you do, that's what this time's for. If you're not comfortable, you don't have to, but we would love for you to. That's what we do at the Chamber, is to try to provide opportunities to network and meet each other and help each other grow your business. Don't all jump in there at once.
All right, I'll go first. So my name's Daniel Armbruster. I serve on the board of directors with the Coppell Chamber, and then I also work as the corporate spokesperson for AAA Texas, doing media relations and community relations. And of course, AAA is based here in Coppell, and I believe we are the largest employer, if not, or one of the largest employers.
That's awesome, Daniel. We so appreciate you on our board, and also everything AAA does to help the chamber and help our businesses. Y'all are wonderful partners, and we really appreciate that. So thanks.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Would you like me to introduce myself?
I would love that. Thank you.
My name is Michelle Maltese. I'm watching from Metro Detroit. I'm friends with Susy Solis and helped her build out her apps. And I make an app. Thank you. We have both worked with the University of Michigan to build out these apps. I just launched one called Hire Road, HIREROAD. And it's hopefully going to compete with Indeed or Monster, where it works as a job post in a different kind of way and for a lot less money. It's about $1.23 per post, and they expire whenever you want them to. So if you have a high turnaround and you need to hire people for the same position over and over again, you just leave it up and continue to hire. We send them directly to your hiring portal or your application.
That's awesome, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for letting me sit in today. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, we love having you here. So thank you. And we are going to talk about the apps today. So I'm really excited that you're on. So I'll let Susie know that you're on as well, just in case she doesn't see you.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Margie.
I guess I can go next.
Yeah.
My name's Angel Ramos. I actually represent Mr. Cooper. So the mortgage company, Mr. Cooper, here in Coppell and Louisville, you could say. And I'm actually the vice president of the OLI Diversity and Inclusion Group. So the Hispanic of Leadership and Development. So just wanted to, be a part of this. And as an OLA member, obviously a Latino, wanted to hear Susy's story. So thank you guys for letting me hop on.
We're so glad you're here. Tell me your first name again.
Angel.
Angel. Angel, do you want to, because Mr. Cooper is the program sponsor for Women in Business, do you want to have a moment to talk about Mr. Cooper and why you're glad to be here today?
Sure.
Okay, terrific. I will do that. And you're vice president of what and the inclusion group?
Of the diversity and inclusion. So it's I'm the vice president of OLA, which is a Latino Hispanic diversity and inclusion group.
later launched her media consulting firm, Solis Media Strategies, and she's also a sought-after media coach who's trained dozens of municipalities, federal agencies, NFL athletes, tech startups, Fortune 500 executives as well, on how to effectively communicate in business, which is so important, as well as also working on presentations and how to present on camera as well. So most recently, though, you've probably heard her on one of the top radio stations in the state, KRLD 1080. She's one of the morning anchors on there with some familiar voices as well. And then also, in addition to that, as was mentioned earlier, she's a founding member of the Hey Chica movement, which is a Latino leadership summit and movement designed to bring women together for real conversations that enhance business, build a network, and a strong sisterhood. Now, she was also named 2017's Entrepreneur of the Year by the Irving Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And last year, she was honored 40, or was it this year? I think it was this year. I knew it was recently. It was this year. Yeah. 40 under 40 by the Dallas Business Journal. So there's a lot more to say about her, including some of the apps that she's developed that you'll hear about coming up in just a moment. And on top of all that, she's one of the kindest people you will ever meet. Here's Susy Solis.
That's so sweet, Daniel. Thank you. Amazing. Susy, I tell you, I have been so excited for this. So thank you so much for joining us. Your background you are just amazing.
Aww.
Absolutely amazing. And that as busy as you are, that you would share this time with us. We are so appreciative. So let's dig into our conversation about success, because you are definitely a story of success. We're gonna go back, not as far as we'd have to go back with me, but we're gonna go back to where did you grow up, and who were your role models, and did you face any challenges growing up?
So I grew up in El Paso, Texas. That's where I'm originally from. My mother is from Mexico, and my dad was born in El Paso. And, it's a border town, 80% Hispanic. And so I grew up speaking Spanish in the household. That was my first language. And then started speaking English, as I grew up. I'm the youngest of 3 kids. And so my brother and sister kind of taught me how to speak English. And I guess my role models were really my parents. They really came from nothing. My mom, like I said, she came from Mexico. Her family worked very hard, but just didn't have a whole lot, and my dad was the same. He was the first person in his family to graduate from college, and just didn't have a whole lot. And so I really saw how hard my parents worked and everything that they did. And I always tell the story of, I played soccer growing up, and my mom one day told the kids, us, to start speaking to her in English because she wanted to learn English. She said she didn't like being at my soccer games and not understanding what other people were saying. And so at the age of, I think she was like 36 maybe, she started to learn English and go to college at the same time. So she ended up getting her degree when she was 42 years old. And for me, seeing that, it was kind of like, okay, I saw her doing laundry, and she would record all of her, classes, and then she would listen to them while she was doing housework and stuff like that. So it was just a really proud moment when I saw her do that. And it was a moment for me to say and to see that if you really want something, then you can work hard, and it doesn't matter how old you are, or, there's nothing to hold you back unless it's you.
Exactly. And definitely a great lesson in it's never too late.
Exactly.
Just go for it. That's great. Any challenges? Did you face any challenges when you were growing up?
I had a pretty good childhood. Besides being a little chubby girl and being shy, and hanging out with my brother and my boy cousins way too much and being a tomboy, I wouldn't say I had too many challenges. I guess the most traumatizing thing that happened to me as a kid was my mom. When I was little, I had a little boy haircut, and when I was probably like 5 or 6, we went to Kmart, and the Santa was like, "And what does this little boy want for Christmas?"
Oh, no.
And I was like, hello, I have earrings, because we had earrings at a really young age. So I really didn't have, or I can't remember any serious challenges. I had a good, wholesome childhood, I would say.
I'm glad, with wonderful role models is what it sounds like
Yes,
as well.
yes.
So that's great. By the way, I played with all the boys too. They were more fun. So
Yeah,
I was playing football and all of it. So you just had to go for it, right? What were your goals? I know it's my understanding you went to the University of El Paso. What were your goals at the time you started at the university? And did they change by the time you graduated?
Yeah, so I had always played sports my entire life. I played soccer and I played volleyball. And for me, sports was a really important part of my life because it taught me a lot, how to deal with other people, how to deal with disappointment of losing, how to be in a really difficult situation and under a lot of pressure and still be able to perform. And so I thought that I was going to maybe be some sort of athletic trainer and maybe work with teams or things like that. And so I started taking a lot of, health classes and biology and stuff like that. And I remember one day I was in biochemistry lab and I was just struggling. I was just struggling with school. And my gut feeling just told me, like, this is not the place for me. And I looked around in the lab and I was like, I just knew I didn't belong there. And I said, I don't want to be around all of these people. This is just not me. And so I literally, and I think part of it was my parents also wanted me to do something in the medical field. They wanted me to do something that was going to be for them, something that was secure. And so I think that was part of the pressure that I put myself under to do what they wanted me to do. But inside I realized, this is not me. This is not going to make me happy. And it's just not going to work. I can't do this for the next, 4 years or whatever. And so literally the next day I changed my major to communication. I told my parents, they kind of rolled their eyes like, oh, great. What's going to happen with this? But the week after, I happened to go to an event where a radio station was there, and I talked to the morning show host, and I said, hey, I'm a sophomore at UTEP and I need to do an internship, what do you say? And he's like, I've never had anybody ask me to do an internship at a place like this or at a party, And he said, show up on Wednesday at 9 a.m. And so I did. And after that, I became an intern at the radio station and did that for 6 months. And they eventually hired me. And so it all started from there.
That's awesome. Boy, another lesson there in if you don't ask, it's kind of like you're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, you got to ask the question. So that's great. Good for you for having the courage to do that. So that is incredible. So they hired you. Were you still in college or had you graduated?
I was still in college. I was a sophomore in college. So I quit. So the internship ended after 6 months and then they ended up hiring me and they said, hey, well, you can do sales or you can be on air. And of course, me being the ham that I was, I guess at that time, I wanted to be on air. And so the program director called me into his office one day and said, so I was excited. I'm like, this is my big break. I'm going to be everywhere. And he said, oh, we'd really like to hire you to work overnights from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. And I was like, okay. But I knew that was going to be my foot in the door. And so for about a year and a half, I worked overnights. I would work from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. I was at the radio station by myself. It was kind of scary. There was 3 radio stations and I just had to make sure that all of the commercials would play. And then I would leave at 5 a.m. and go to school. I would take a nap in my car and then I would go to class.
Wow.
And so I would just sleep, in increments whenever I had time.
Well, good for you. Good for you. It looks like it led to some great success. So did you stay there, or where was your next step? Where did you go after that?
So I worked overnights, and then I was working weekends, and they had finally put me on air. My first few shows, obviously a disaster. Uh, and I still have the very first like cassette tape of me on air, and it's terrible. I've come a long way, I can say. But so it was a cluster of 3 radio stations, an AM sports station, a rock station, which is where I was interning, and then like a female Kiss FM type station. And so the morning girl from the Kiss FM station, she ended up moving away, and they asked me, along with some other people, if I wanted to audition. And it was my senior year in college at that point. So I had 1 semester to go. And I said, yeah, of course. You know, I was 22. I really didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. But obviously, that's never stopped me from doing anything. And I was the last one to audition, and they kept me there. So I stayed there. So my last semester, I was doing the morning show and then going to school after that.
Wow, good for you. A lot of time and energy there. So that's awesome. Doesn't sound like you had the usual college experience, but it sounds like it was still amazing. So
Oh yeah, it was great.
so from there, I know you did start, I don't know if it's from there, you started a media consulting firm. But if you want to tell us what led to that, we would love to know, because you know what sparked that interest and got that going.
Yeah, so after radio, you know, my goal had always been to be a reporter, and I would see people on air and I would say, you know, I think I can do that. And so eventually the radio station, we had worked with the NBC station in El Paso. And so they told me about a opening there, and I auditioned. I ended up getting a job as the morning show anchor at the NBC station there. And then in 2007, I always tell people it was 2007, J-Lo was really popular. And so it was a period of time when everybody wanted Latinas on TV. So it was good for me. And I ended up getting job offers from a bunch of different cities, but Dallas was the biggest market. And my brother already lived here at the time. My sister had lived here previously. So it was an easy choice for me to come to Dallas. And so over the years, you know, I worked at NBC5 for 4 years. And then after that, I worked at CBS. So I've interviewed, you know, thousands of people over the years, really smart people. And what prompted me to do this is working with police and fire departments and, like I said, really smart people. But once the little red light would turn on, it was a disaster. And they couldn't effectively communicate. And it just made me sad, because I just thought it doesn't have to be like this. It's not as hard as people think. People just don't understand how the media works. And so I thought, you know, I can help people. And so that's what I started doing, is doing media training for different police and fire departments. I had, you know, worked with them as a reporter, and I said, okay, I'm doing this now. And so then I started doing the media training. I paired up with a policeman that I had worked with over the years. And so they got the police side and they got the journalistic side. And so after I started working with all of these police officers, because a lot of them don't want to be in that position, you know, they're placed in that position. Mm-hmm. And once they understood what it really takes, what reporters really want, how they need it, when they need it, and how fast they need it, then they all felt better about doing their job. And so for me, it gives me a lot of gratitude. It just makes me feel better knowing that they have confidence to do their job. And I'm also helping out my fellow journalists so that these guys know what they're doing now, you know? And so that's really what started it for me. And I've also been that person where I haven't been able to, I was a shy person, and I had to change that when I became a reporter, because if you don't kind of assert yourself, then you're going to get stepped on. And so I know those feelings of feeling inadequate or not knowing what to say or feeling insecure about what you're saying. And so I think that's why I'm able to connect with people and really show them that you can communicate effectively. And it's really important, not just in business, but in your personal life as well.
See, Susie, I should have called you before this and got your advice, because do you have any idea how intimidating it is to be interviewing you? I've been like going, oh my God, I got to get these questions right. So
Oh, no, you're doing great.
You're awesome. So you had a collaboration, and I know we have Michelle on the Zoom call as well that worked with you on this. And y'all worked with the University of Michigan to develop an app. And when I first read this, I thought, what, did you just wake up one day and say, I'm going to develop an app? Because I can't imagine where that comes into your mind. So how did that start?
Trust me, I did not wake up wanting to develop an app. But
Okay,
I met
feel
Michelle, and Michelle will always like push you to do more and more and more. So that's good. Well, previously, when I quit my job at CBS in 2014. And that's when I started my business. And I also partnered up with another girl. We were doing a thing called Cornbread Hustle, where we were helping people who had come out of prison communicate more effectively. And we were teaching them, the basics of like how to start a business. Because some of them, they couldn't get jobs because they're felons. But some of them had skills that they could make a business. And so we would do like I guess it was about a 4-month class. And there was another similar organization in Detroit that wanted to partner up with us. So we ended up going to Detroit. That's how I met Michelle. And Michelle said, you guys need to partner up with U of M. You guys need to create an app because, this is a huge opportunity. And so the University of Michigan, their computer science program, their senior students have to create an app as part of their senior project in order to graduate. So you come in as a business and you pitch what your app idea is, and then the students pick you or they don't, you just have to come in and pitch every year. And so I ended up creating a positive habit tracker for Cornbread Hustle, which was that organization, which I'm no longer with them. But the app still is around, and it's on both Android and iOS. And then, I've continued that relationship with U of M. So now I'm creating 2 more apps, one of them for my business, specifically called Speak IQ. And what that does is it kind of will give people a template of different things that people have to do. For example, if you have to do a presentation, it's going to ask you questions in the order that they should be whenever you finish your speech, so it's kind of guiding you of how your speech should go, or like a wedding toast, for example, or a eulogy, right? And then there's also videos on there from other communication experts like me and others talking about, here's how you should place the camera, or don't wear earrings that are too big, or just things that, most people don't realize that I know because I've been doing TV for the past, 12 years or whatever. So that's the app for my business that will be out by the end of the year.
Please let us know when that's out. I would love to download that app. It sounds great. Sounds like you've got templates and ready to go and a lot of great advice. So
Yes.
Stay in touch with us. And Daniel, you can't let us not know when this is available, okay? It's just a wonderful tool. I can see it helping all ages. So way to go, Susie. That's awesome. So you're also the founder, and we have someone else online, and I can't think of the name right now, that are 2 other people that have participated in this with you. You're the founder of a wonderful organization called the Hey Chica movement. Tell us about this organization and your passion for how did it start and why?
So Veronica, she's the one with the yoga studio. I've known her. She's one of the first people I met when I came to Dallas. And one of my friends who was a producer at NBC5 told me, you need to know her. She knows a lot of people. She's really smart. And yeah, so we became friends since then. And I guess it was 2 years ago. She brought me and a few other people together, and she said, I have this idea, there is no Latina leadership conference in Dallas to speak of. And, Dallas is 40% Hispanic. So we said, we can try and bring another one to Dallas, or we can just create one ourselves. We have the people and the brain power to do so. And so that's what we did. Our first year, we ended up at SMU. We sold out 300 women there. We had Nelly Galan there, who is the first female CEO of Telemundo. And she was also on The Apprentice. And she's just a really smart lady. And we had many other speakers as well. But the point of the leadership conference for us is really to bring women together. One of our main kind of missions is no mean girls. We want to put other women in the game. And so that's really what we promote at all of our events is we want to empower other women. We want to give women a voice because, in our culture, in the Latino culture, sometimes women our voices are minimized. And so we don't want that. We want women to be empowered and be confident to speak their voices. And it's been a huge success because women have wanted this. And so we do other events as well. We do an event called Tacos and Chill, which is kind of a networking event that's a lot of fun. And we do that. Obviously, with the pandemic, everything's changed. So our next Tacos and Chill event, which is happening next week, is going to be virtual. But yeah, so the whole point is really just to empower women. And like I said, no mean girls, put other women in the game. What are we doing as Latinas to bring other Latinas into positions of power or just, positions that are going to help their families?
Good for you. That is awesome. How would someone get involved and how can we support you?
Well, I mean, you can go to our next Tacos and Chill, which is going to be a virtual event happening on Tuesday. You can go to heychicasummit.com and put your email there. We send out a newsletter and follow us on Instagram. We've been so Margie has done, she's the one with ISP Studios. She's done all the marketing for us, and we won an award by Adweek for Rising Star because our brand has done so well on social media. And, that's due to Margie and her team's work and kind of her vision of what Hey Chica is. And also because we're bringing in kind of the younger generation and bridging the gap with the older generation and using hashtags and social media to do that and to build those relationships. And so I'm just really proud of everything we've done. So you should definitely follow us on Instagram at heychicasummit.com. Adriana just posted. Adriana works with us as well. She does basically all of the logistics for this huge event, and she is absolutely amazing. So, these women that I'm surrounded by, I'm not an island. Like, they have all contributed to my success, and we've contributed to each other's success. And that's what we hope to do with other women with Hey Chica.
That's wonderful. And they say great leaders surround themselves with great people.
Right.
So you can't be an island or you wouldn't be so successful. So you should be proud. Congratulations on your success. And I should tell these other ladies, congratulations on all of your success with the Hey Chica movement. That's great. So I understand that you, like me, are a diehard sports fan. What sports do you love? And is it college or professional or what? And how has COVID-19 affected you with that?
Ooh, well, I am a big football fan. I even play fantasy football, and I'm starting a league with my family this year. So I'm a big football fan. I love football. Like I said, I've done some media training for the Cowboys. So it's been not for the entire team, but for a few players. So I'm just a big football fan. Of course, I love the Dallas Mavericks, and I love baseball too. I'm just a big sports fan in general. You know, I will pretty much go to any sport. I'll go even watch a hockey game, soccer game. I'm just a competitive person. So, but football is definitely, in terms of things that I'm gonna watch, don't bother me on Sundays.
Don't mess with my boys. Don't mess with my
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
That's true.
But COVID, well, I mean, it's changed everything, you know, and it was actually the day before, the day that we were supposed to celebrate the 40 under 40 is when everything got shut down.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, from that time, from that point of time, I think I realized when we had the stay-at-home orders, like how busy I am, how much I'm always running around, because then I was not running around. I was at my apartment, like, this is weird. What do I do? But, you know, I think it's been a really good reset that a lot of people needed. And I think it also gave me an opportunity to really think about, you know, what's important and what things do I really want to focus my time on, because time is precious.
It is precious, even when you get a lot of it back, but you realize it even more. So you are so accomplished and you're so busy. And it's my understanding that you say that, you know, you're about empowering women, which I love. And I love you smart men too. But we want to empower women as well. And so where we teach, you said, you know, you teach women about self-care, personal development, and the elusive finding balance. And that is elusive. So I'm wondering, as busy as you are, I mean, because you did your gig you ended what, at 10 a.m. this morning? So, and then boom, here you are at 11 o'clock with us. And again, thank you. But what do you do in your free time? And do you really have free time? Do you have that elusive balance?
I make time. I'll be honest. I need that alone time. You know, I spend a lot of time around a lot of other people, and sometimes I just need a quiet space. And so yeah, I do make time, like sometimes on Saturdays, because most of the time during the week is when I do, you know, everything. Sometimes on Saturdays, I won't leave my apartment. It's just me and Roscoe, my dog. And we hang out, we will watch Netflix. I definitely like to be outside, you know, I like to be in nature. I used to live up north by Arbor Hills in Plano.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to do those 3-mile hikes pretty frequently. I just bought a paddleboard, so now I'm at the lake pretty frequently, just to get on the water and just to relax a little bit and get my mind off of everything that's always going on. And if I don't get enough sleep, I'm really grumpy. So I definitely have to make time for that. And I just know that it's important. So I spend a lot of time with my family. I definitely have some girl time. You know, my girlfriends, we do a lot of stuff, but we also definitely make time to just have time where we have fun.
Good for you. That's awesome. So it sounds like you are finding balance. So another lesson that we can take away and learn from you. We all need people to lean on for support, especially now. Who supports you?
All the people that are on this call, literally. Daniel, Margie, Adriana, Veronica, Michelle, Brisa, Arturo, all those people, that's my core group. And, you know, it's so important to surround yourself with people who are gonna, number one, keep it real with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing something or if you need advice, like these are the women and men that I'm gonna go to first and that I trust are gonna give me real answers. And, you know, if I have a sad day, I can talk to them. If I have something to celebrate, they're gonna be the first ones to celebrate with me. And so these are the people, like I said, I'm not an island. They all have contributed in some way to all the things that I'm doing. And so to have that support it means everything to me, really.
That's wonderful. Well, I do know that you take walks with Daniel, and we're very thankful you do, because it's because of Daniel we got to interview you today. So thank you, and thank Daniel as well. As a professional, what accomplishment are you the proudest of? And then I'm going to ask you the same thing about your personal life.
So I think as a professional, I think for me, the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that I was self-employed for 5 years. You know, when I quit my job in 2014, I had been here in Dallas for almost 8 years. And I felt like I was doing the same stories over and over again. I didn't feel like I was challenged anymore. And I was ready for something new. And when I told people that I was getting out of the business, they just thought I was crazy. Like, what are you doing? You know, you're in the prime of your career. Why would you do this now? And, you know, I was going through a difficult time in my personal life. At the time I was getting divorced. And so my whole life was just, you know, upside down. And so I think at that moment, I just said, I need something new. I want to try this. I just want to be self-employed for a year. Let me try it for a year. And if not, then I can always go back to news. And after a year, I was still doing it. After 2 years, I was still doing it. After 3 years, I was still doing it. And so the fact that I was self-employed for 5 years, it really gave me a lot of confidence that I had lost because of the divorce. And it made me realize that, you know, I can get through anything. And with the help and support of all of my friends and the people who helped me in business, you know, it gave me my confidence back. And so that's definitely one of the things that I'm most proud of.
That's awesome. I love that. And I see it in you, because going through something like that, it's so difficult to stay focused.
Yes.
And yet you launched a business and made it successful. So congratulations. So
Thank
what
you.
about in your personal life? What are you the most proud of there?
You know, I was thinking about that. That's a hard question. For me, it's really easy to talk about my professional exploits, and talking about my personal life is a little bit more difficult. I was thinking about it, you know, when you guys gave me that question. And honestly, you know, there's one time when I was at my brother's house, and my niece was about 5 years old at the time, maybe. And she asked me, Tia means aunt in Spanish. And she said, Tia, what are you doing here? Do you not have to work? And I said, yeah, I'm working right now. And she said, oh, is it okay with your boss? And I said, I am the boss. And she was like, oh. And so it was the first time in her eyes that she had seen, you know, kind of a female in that position. And so I think for me, it's important to be that role model for my nieces and for other young Latinos, or for other young people just in general. And but especially for them, because I remember, you know, being a little girl and not necessarily seeing people who looked like me on TV, you know. And so for me, to be that for my nieces and nephews, you know, one of my nephews is a musician and artist, and he kind of, my sister is definitely a lot more traditional and conservative, and so for him to kind of do that was really out there. But it's his passion, and he's actually doing a really great job. And I think they look to me for that validation, and I'm proud to be that for them.
Well, they're very blessed to have you as that role model and aunt. So kudos to you there too. So we cannot have a conversation about success without talking about the big elephant in the room, hashtag can't breathe. People are saying that from what I keep hearing on the news and in discussions I have with friends and colleagues, that this time it's different. It's going to be different. Do you think so? And why or why not? Are your thoughts going that direction?
Oh, I definitely think it's different. You know, I think people we've been okay with the status quo for a long time. and nobody has wanted to shake up anything. And I think people were kind of at their wits' end with the quarantine and then with this whole situation happening. And so you see the anger, the emotion that people have. And I think that now is the time. If anything's going to change, now is the time to do so. And I think for me personally, you know, as a Latina, there are those issues within the Latin culture where there's racism, you know, and so I have to think about it myself, because I have to think, you know, what do I stand for? You know, I have lots of Black friends. I have lots of friends from every different, you know, color and creed and whatever. But I have to, even though they might know that and people might not know that, it's something that I still have to be vocal about because I feel it's important. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, yes, things are going to change, because I think those conversations are having to be had just like right now, you know, and I think that we are going to have to put ourselves out there against people that we might not have said anything to before. And those conversations are not going to be comfortable, but they're necessary. And I think in order to have some peace, and that people are going to have to be vocal and people are going to have to be honest. And I think most importantly, people are going to have to listen. You know, the most important thing in conversation or when you're talking to people is to be able to listen and see where you might have done something that was not appropriate, and say, you know what, okay, I understand from your point of view. I think a lot of times in our culture, we don't want to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. You know, we're very much a me culture in America. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to think about it and say, okay, what can I do? What am I going to do? And how am I going to hold other people accountable where maybe I didn't before?
Yeah, what am I going to do differently? And I'm hoping people will really ask those questions, have those hard conversations. I have a thing I keep up in my office that I'm willing to do what's uncomfortable so I can be uncomfortable for the rest of my life. But I think we have to get used to being uncomfortable. And I think sometimes people think they're putting themselves in their shoes. They have no idea. They don't really understand. So my concern, and I wonder how you feel about this, is that in 9/11, after 9/11, boy, we all came together and we rallied in the, you know, kind of maybe not on the same level as what we're seeing now, but we were strong and nobody was going to hurt America again. And then it faded.
Yeah.
How do we keep movement going?
Well, yeah, and 9/11, I think is a little bit different because, you know, it was kind of like an attack on us and on us as an American culture, you know, as a whole. So it was like us against them, right?
Right.
But this is us against us. And so that's where the big divide is. And like I said, I think there have been a lot of things that have been allowed to continue over the years that people have been too uncomfortable or haven't felt, you know, haven't felt capable of really going up against it. But now it's like everybody had to band together to say, we can't do this anymore. Something has got to change. And so I think, you know, like I said, I think the issue is people want to be seen, people want to be heard, people want that equal treatment. And so everybody has to stop talking at others and be able to listen and say, what can we do? What am I doing? How can we fix this? What are we doing to move forward? And have those conversations. You know, I think in our culture, we're just not very talkative anymore. We don't do that anymore. Everything is done on the phone, right, you know, or on social media instead of, and the most productive thing to do is look in somebody's eyes and say, okay, I'm listening to you. What can I do? And okay, you know what? Take responsibility for what it is that you did if there was a problem with it, and say, okay, how can we compromise, or what can I do next time? you know? And so for a lot of people, it's hard to put their ego away and admit that they maybe didn't act in the correct way. So, you know, it's going to take a lot of soul searching for a lot of people to really change, you know, it's not an easy thing to do. And I think people are just, there's a lot of high emotions right now, in so many different ways. And so, like I said, you know, the most important thing for me, I think, is to get people to listen and to have those important conversations and to really stand for something.
I so agree with you. I'm so glad you have been on this call today. I think there's a lot of us on this call that think we have been doing a lot. I feel like I've been one of these people that have, but with all of this that's happened, I have to sit back and say, no, obviously, if this is still happening, I haven't done enough. And what do I do going forward? So Susy, if you pull a group together, or you know of one that they're having those tough conversations, I know there's a lot of us on this call that would love to participate and make this a better place. So thank you there. I have not had an opportunity. That's into my questions. So I you know, I gave you that one at the end. I know that we didn't prepare you for, but I'm not worried about you landing on your feet at all. However, I'm just wondering, anyone else has questions? I haven't been able to keep up with the chat because I've been so intrigued with Susy. Do you have any questions? Kevin, you usually have a fabulous question, not to put any pressure on you.
What's your favorite color? No, I apologize. I actually had to step away for about 15 minutes. I'm actually still working. I had to teach a private lesson for a student. So, but my wife was here on the call. I will say that, Tony, you're 100% right. And I'm just going to throw myself out there. Look, I'm a white male. I understand that, you know, that there is privilege there. And this whole situation has made me just personally take a step back and look at all my life experiences and say, as you said, have I done enough? And I think you're right. I don't think that I've done enough. And you know, I will say that I have a beautiful wife who is, you know, she comes from a Hispanic family, and you know, have I even done enough to educate my children about their culture and stuff? So you know, I appreciate you know, just kind of opening up that conversation about being self-reflective. So Susy, that's absolutely amazing. I know that's not really a question, but just a thought just on what I've taken away from that. So I appreciate that. So that's all I had, Tony. I didn't have a question ready. I'm sorry.
Kevin, I appreciate your joining in, because really what we're saying is, Susy, you're so right. And thank you for having the courage to say it and remind people they need to be open-minded and they need to have tough conversations. So
Tony, I will say there is a question that popped up in the chat.
Oh, good.
All right. It says, Susy, if you could kind of define or explain what it felt like waking up every morning as a reporter on the radio facing the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, you know, it was pretty scary. You know, as a reporter, you cover a lot of crazy things. And I think the thing that rattled me and a lot of people that I work with and that I know and my friends is just how fast things changed and how fast everything just kind of shut off. And literally from one day to the next, within 12 hours, you know, there's no cars on the street. You can't go to the grocery store. And for me, the other thing was not being able to physically hug, you know, my family. That's so weird. You know, as Latinos, like we kiss each other on the cheek. That's our greeting. So I think it was, you know, it was just really scary every single day, the uncertainty of it, and just kind of gave me anxiety every morning, thinking about what could happen. And, you know, if our jobs were secure, you know, there was layoffs at at Entercom, which is the parent company of my radio station, and people had to take pay cuts. And so, yeah, I think it's just, you know, we have to report on it every day. And I think that's the other difficult part, is like, for a lot of people, they don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm surrounded by it, you know, every day, because I have to say it, I have to write it. And then a lot of my friends are in the news business, so we talk about it. And so it's just constantly there all the time. And not only that, but thank God that I had a job, because, you know, I had media trainings scheduled, you know, once a month for the next 5 months, and all of those got canceled. And I just thought to myself, if I didn't have this job at KRLD, I would be really worried about, you know, what I would do. And so it also made me think about how grateful I am to have this job and to be able to do what I do, and to be able to be surrounded by people who, you know, are supportive and are saying like, it's going to be okay, you know, we're going to get through this. So it also made me think about just the little things that I'm grateful for, like a hug.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, you're seeing that they're saying, I'm so ready for a hug. I need a hug. So
Yes.
yeah, it is. It's such a different time. So anybody else with any questions? Yeah, Michelle?
So I'm putting Susie on the spot. I ask her this all the time, but since there's other people from Hey Chica, I'm in Detroit and I'm not Hispanic. So I need somebody to adopt me so I can become Hispanic, and I want you guys to come to Detroit. I see community in Texas that I don't feel we have in Michigan. I know we don't, not locally. I love how you guys are having this chamber meeting and how welcoming it is to everybody. And I thank you for letting me participate. But I hope that Hey Chica expands and comes to Detroit, because we do have a very large Hispanic
Yeah.
community. So that's all. Come to
That's
Detroit.
great.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, one of my teams that did the app, one of the girls on my team is a Hispanic girl, and she graduated from U of M, and she is a developer, and I still keep in touch with her because I feel it's really important. You know, she came from a family that didn't have much money, and when we spoke, she didn't realize that I was Mexican. And so I've kept in touch with her. But yes, actually Detroit does have Mexican Town. Maybe one day we will go to U of M and do a Hey Chica there. But and you know what, guys? I was in Detroit for 6 months, and Michelle was like, hey, there's a really good taco place. I'm like, what does Michelle know about tacos? I mean, I'm from Texas.
Right.
And she took me to a place, and it was actually really good. And then she said, let's have some chips and chip sauce. That's what she called salsa. So just FYI.
She's never let me live it down.
That's I have to say, I've never heard of chip sauce. What you're doing there, I love it. Hey, Michelle, by the way, there are 3 realtors on the Zoom call that would love to help you relocate to Texas, and you will find it very warm and friendly. It's an incredible environment, and I thank you for the compliment about the Zoom call, because our Coppell Chamber is known as, we may not be the biggest, but we're the friendliest, and we really help each other grow each other's business. So thank you for recognizing that in the short call.
Yay, from what's around here. So very welcoming. And I appreciate it. Thanks.
Tony, I have a question.
Good.
Yeah. So Susie is quite the go-getter, as you can tell from her story. So Susie, what is it? Because we all have fears, we all have insecurities. What do you do to overcome those fears and going with your gut instinct and knowing what to follow and where to go?
So, you know, one thing that I tell people and that I've told people is that, you know, my goals are bigger than my fears. And so sometimes, you know, if you look at fears logically, you have to think about, is this based in reality? Is this fear based in reality? So if I was ever scared of something, I would always say, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then I would think about the worst thing that could happen, and it'd say like, okay, well, if that's the worst thing that could happen, you know, could I get through it? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Then sometimes you just gotta roll the dice, and you just gotta do it, because that way at least you have an answer. You know, if it doesn't work, it didn't work, but at least now you have an answer. And so that's how I've always looked at things. And being on the air, actually, when I first started my internship, is really kind of what pushed me into that, because you really don't have a choice. It was like, hey, are you going to perform or not? And I kind of was put on the spot, and you just kind of have to do it. And so after that, you know, like I said, I have to think logically about things and say, is this a real fear? Is there something that I really need to fear? Or is this just something that my insecurities are bringing up? What is triggering me to feel like this? And sometimes you just have to push forward and do it. You know, there's no other way to do it than to face it. And it's not easy, you know, it's never easy. I'm always scared. Like, people say, you know, oh, you look so confident, you know, when you're on TV or when you're doing whatever. But every time before a live shot, I would still get nervous. You know, every time before I do a speech, I still get nervous. I'm still thinking, I'm still breathing and kind of freaking out, you know. But you just have to push through it and do it anyway, and then you'll calm down. And so I just encourage people to be, you know, despite the fears, just do it. Just do it, because at least you'll know, you'll have an answer after that. Sometimes you just got to say, I'm going to do it. Let's see what happens. And whatever happens, happens. I'm going to accept whatever happens. And so that served me. And I think when you're speaking too, and that's what I tell my clients as well, is the other thing that I do is I help them learn how to visualize going through whatever it is they have to do. So specifically when they're doing a speech, I make them visualize the speech from beginning to end, from the time when they're getting ready, and we go through a visualization, kind of a meditation, where I'm saying you feel confident, you're getting up, you have a fabulous outfit, and you feel amazing. You're walking up the stage, and you're here. You know that everyone is supporting you, and when you look out on the stage, and when you look out at everybody's faces, they're all smiling at you, and they're all excited to see you, and they're all nodding. And so I make them kind of go through the whole thing. And after they do that, then they feel more comfortable, because it feels like they've already done it. And so that's something else that I try to do, is visualize before I do anything that's going to scare me.
That's awesome. You know, I asked you early on in the conversation, and unless someone has another question, we'll probably wrap up here, because I want to respect your time today. In the beginning, I asked you if you had faced any challenges, and in that I was wondering about any discrimination, but you don't talk about that. And I just can't imagine, as a Latino woman, you not ever facing any discrimination. Did you just decide to focus on the positive, or if you were discriminated against, how did you push through that?
Well, yeah, I'll give you an example. You know, when I first moved to Dallas, I was, you know, what we like to call the token Latina at, you know, NBC5. And my ex-husband and I bought a house in North Dallas, and, you know, he was a big stickler for having a nice yard. And we were outside working on our yard, and like 3 people stopped to ask us how much we charge and if they could speak to the homeowner.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like, are you serious right now? Or, you know, just when I moved here, you know, I did a story one time about, the tax office in Collin County. One of the county commissioners didn't want people in the tax office who were bilingual to get paid more. And the tax collector was like, we have to have these people who speak Spanish, because we have Spanish speaking residents. And so when I went to go interview the county commissioner, you know, the first thing he asked me was where in Mexico I was from. And so, you know, it's not, the question in and of itself isn't offensive, right? But it's the ignorance, I think, that I've seen. And it happened to me a lot when I first came to Dallas. Is I would be with my photographer, and it says NBC, and they would always assume that I worked for a Spanish station, or they would always ask me where in Mexico I was from, as if I couldn't have been born here. I couldn't be a Latina who speaks English well and speaks Spanish as well and is educated. So, I mean, I've definitely experienced those things. And I always tell people, like, when those people asked us how much we charge, you know, I could have gone off on her. I could have done any number of things, you know, but in my eyes, I have to be that example of what uneducated Latina is. And so I have to remain respectful and show them that this is what we are. Because a lot of times people will ask you, or will say, like, if they don't know me, they say like, oh, well, what are you? You know, what's your background? What's your ethnicity? And they'll say, oh, you don't look Mexican. And then it's like, well, what does that look like? You know, am I supposed to be making tortillas, you know, in the kitchen? Or, you know, it's like, so of course I don't say those things to these people in their face at the time. But I think the question is like saying like, oh, well, I'm not used to seeing somebody like you. And so again, I've faced a lot of that, you know, throughout the years. I've been to back in the day, I went to a few Minutemen, you know, protests or whatever that I had to cover. And so there were definitely like some uncomfortable conversations there. But, you know, like I said, I always want to err on the side of caution. I always want to be respectful to other people, because I think we have to be more careful about what our image is in the community, because we see a lot of negative images of Latinos and Black people. And so for me, it's important to be a positive image of Latinos.
Awesome. Jan, did you have a question?
I did. Well, it's not really a question, it's more of a comment. And Susie, I'm going to thank you for sharing that, you know, you were going through a difficult time with the divorce and that you knew you needed to make a change. So I'm like the grandmother of the bunch. So I'm always, and it's just a personal thing for me. I was a communications major as well, but never wanted to be on camera. But I always like to pick one thing that I can embrace and say, that's why I needed to be part of this today. And quite truthfully, that was it for me. I have been through a divorce. I do know what it's like to know you need something fresh, but then to have that fear and not sure as to whether the choices you are making are the correct choices or not. But what I would like to say is really to all the rest of you that are on this call that take time for this, you have no idea how much support you are for other people who are making that change, because you don't really ever know where somebody is at in their life. But just by supporting them on a personal level with their profession, or even just saying, hey, how are you? How are your kids? Do you have family? Because I'm new to Texas. And so all of you have become my family through my work. So really just thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, of course. And you know, it's something that I don't mind talking about, because I know other women are going through it or have gone through it.
Yep.
And it's something that, you know, for me, I felt shame at first.
Yeah.
I felt I was depressed. And I always tell people, look, if somebody's going through a divorce, they're a completely different person than who they really are. So just give them some grace.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to kind of get through it. But, you know, once you do, if you focus on healing and if you focus on writing a new narrative, like I know some people that, you know, they hold on to the pain and the grief and the anger and all of that. And I'm like, this is not that. This is an opportunity for you to write a new script. You know, what's that new narrative? Now you can do whatever you want, you know? Yeah. So think of it like that instead of like something that is negative.
You're right.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Susie, thank you so much. And Jan, thank you for sharing that as well. Susie and I have had that conversation via email, because I went through that too. And I was very thankful for a blessing from my parents. It's probably all being raised in a family. You didn't get a divorce. I didn't want to really be the first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much. I want to, and if you have another question, just let me know, because Susie, this conversation about your success has been so amazing, and thank you for sharing. I also want to thank our other committee members on here. I know I have Amanda Nevels and Pam Varnell and Linda. Y'all please wave. Thank you, ladies, or ladies and gentlemen. These women are so brilliant, and they do so much for this committee that I appreciate them so much. And then before I leave, I want to thank our sponsors. Mr. Cooper is our program sponsor. Angel, thank you. Please take that back to Mr. Cooper for us. And also to the City of Coppell for your great partnership and your being an event sponsor on this. We couldn't do these programs without you, and we couldn't keep our chamber going strong to help businesses without you. Daniel, I want to thank you again for bringing us the one and only Susy Solis. And so with that, Susie, I want to thank you. One of the things I took away and love, I mean, so many amazing things. I'm writing notes as I'm trying to interview, but I love that you come from a heart of serving others. And that seems to have been one of your big motivating factors, is that you're helping people in everything you do. And I love that about you. And I think that even makes you a stronger leader. So thank you so much. I've enjoyed this conversation. And Ellie, I'm going to turn it over to you to wrap up, and any reminders. And thanks again, Ellie, for being our great leader. We so appreciate you through all of this.
Well, thank you, Tony. Thank you again, Susie, Daniel, some great information. And I'm like Tony, I'm just impressed with, there's a lot of people out there that could have a whole different attitude when they're as successful as you are, and you truly have a humble heart full of service. So thank you. Thank you to the rest of the gang that was here. I know we've had people popping in and out the whole time, but thank you to all of you. Thank you to Mr. Cooper. And I posted online the different links as far as the 5K run and the emergency funds available through Dallas County. So if you have anything else you need, any other questions, you can contact me at ellie@coppellchamber.org. And again, thank you to all of you guys.
Thank you guys so much. It was great. Daniel, I love you, and Tony and Ellie. Appreciate you guys having me. Of course, all of my amigas and amigos that joined the call, I really appreciate it. And happy to do this anytime. Let me know.
Watch what you say. Thank you, Susie. All right. Bye, y'all. I'm going to sign out. Thank you all for your time.